After 11 years of going to the gym, and I started when I was 14 years old, and I really loved the gym. I was watching movies like from Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I was always like, I saw the big biceps, and I had already like pretty good genetics. And I can remember when I was like 13 years old, I was working in a farm, and one day a person said to me like, "Hey, can you do like the biceps flex?" And I did it, and I never even was thinking about it, and people were like, "Oh my god, that looks amazing, huh? How is that even possible?" And I don't know, something switched in me at that moment, because I was always like a really small, short, little guy. I'm not super short, but like in mainstream media, it is like short. You're not 6 feet. I'm like 5 feet 10, so it doesn't really matter. You can barely see the difference. But there's a whole other topic. But that people were reacting to me like that, like, "Oh my god, that looks freaky, that's not healthy." And I was like, I don't know, that kind of got me really into the gym. I was like, oh my god, I like that people think that I'm a freak. So I started to work out, and I wanted to make that biceps look more freakier. And I watched all those videos of Greg Doucette, and I learned a lot. I got my high school done, and eventually I did a study as a personal trainer, and I started to get more and more experience. And I don't know, I always liked the art of bodybuilding. I don't know, it's just something about the muscles, about the way how you feel in your body. It just makes me feel amazing when I have all that muscle on me. And I don't know, it's like a little bit of an ego boost, but I'm just super confident. I feel like, I don't know, I just love it. I cannot really explain why, but I just like to see things symmetrical. I just like to build your body to perfection, to see more lines. And it's just also like the journey of it. It takes so long to get there, and it's just so much work. And for me, it never really felt like work, because I really like the gym. I actually love the gym. But in this video, I really want to talk about a topic that what I see online now, especially on TikTok, is that everyone is having a whole big opinion about bodybuilding, a whole opinion about how you should build muscle, and how it is the easiest way to build muscle. And you have to do 10 sets, you have to do 2 sets, you have to train really heavy, you have to train really light. And sometimes I get a little bit triggered by that, because I train for 11 years and I look extremely big for someone who's natural. I think I also have really good genetics, but I am really looking freakish, and I never took something. And that's not to pat me on the back, but I just want to say that it works what I'm doing. It clearly works, It's not all genetics. I also grown a lot of muscle, and I'm also really big. So what I'm doing is working, and I just want to tell you that it is not really that complicated. People just want to make it so complicated. You have to do 2 sets, you have to have a whole schedule with you, and about I don't know, you have to do, like, even these days you see like those weird exercises that people have like a band over their arm, and then they're gonna do weird contraction stuff, and then they just gonna drop the weight, and then just only gonna go do the concentric stuff. So it's like the push, it's like the really like target the muscle, to do the movement, to pick up the weight. That's like the concentric, and then when you want to drop the weight, it's like the eccentric. But yeah, that's just like cool personal training talk. No one cares. But I see so many different things, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm happy that in my time when I started, I didn't have any TikTok, and I barely had YouTube, and I just saw Rich Piana, Larry Wheels. I just saw the big bodybuilders on YouTube sometimes, and that's all I knew, I got to learn everything from a guy in the gym, and I just started to work out, and I never thought it was complicated, I was just going there, and yes, if I train legs, I'm not gonna train the next day legs. I'm gonna train like maybe the other day legs, when I felt good, and I just never made it really complicated. And every set was just pushing to failure. Just go as max as you can and try to lift as heavy as possible. That was like how I was approaching it when I was younger. And I also noticed that I was pretty strong, so I started to deadlift, and then all of a sudden I deadlifted in like a few months 405 pounds. So I was like, oh my god, I'm really strong. And I don't know, it was like a big confirmation for me that people were like, oh my god, he's strong, and it was just really addictive. So when I was like 17 years old, I started to focus on deadlift and powerlifting more, and it was for me all about lifting as heavy as possible. And I was not really growing a lot of muscle back in those years because I was constantly focusing on the weight, you know, how more weight, how better. Most of the time I cannot even do like a bench press because I started to have an injury on my shoulder, and I constantly kept going to the gym and trained the bench press, and I was constantly trying to get back on that level that I did before. And even with deadlifts, I started to, I think my max was 510 pounds deadlift, conventional. And I was really proud of that, but my back started to hurt and my knee started to hurt, and I didn't care. I was like, no, it's just part of the deal. And I just did, I think, 3 times a week, heavy deadlift, heavy squats. And oh my god, my lower back, it started to kill me, you know, it started to hurt. And I just didn't listen to my body. And I was constantly be like, hey, I can do like the 40 kilo dumbbells incline, so I'm never going below that. I'm always, every training I have to go above that 40, and even if it doesn't feel good, I'm still gonna grab those 40. And I was looking around like, hey, can people see me? And what I try to say with this is that everyone has those phases in the gym time, you know. And I see now everywhere online that people constantly focusing on heavy lifting. They have a really strong opinion about how you should build muscle, and this is the way how you should build muscle. And it's just all about almost no sets, really heavy lifting. And maybe it works with if you're using steroids, you know, but even then, if you're gonna constantly push your body with heavy ass weights, you're gonna have injuries. You're gonna hurt your bones. You're gonna hurt a lot of things, you know. Also your ego when it goes wrong. But most of the time when I'm in the gym, sometimes people ask me, hey, can you maybe spot me? And they can barely like get the dumbbells in a good spot, and then they're gonna do like 3 reps, and you can see that no rep was clean. And you have even people who are like 40 years old, they still doing that stuff. They still doing way too heavy weight, and it doesn't look like they actually target the muscle, you know, because I don't know what is the goal of everyone, but most people, they dare to actually be a bodybuilder. Most people want to be as big as possible, and they do posing in the mirror, and you can see that they're focusing on building that muscle. And but I noticed after so many years of training, people make it way too complicated. People take way too much risk. It is really unhealthy to lift heavy. Yes, you can lift heavy sometimes, and if you have really good genetics, you can probably lift heavy for many, many years. But I'm not 25 years old, and I start now to do like training that I saw do older people to like do mobility training, because I actually hurted my back so bad that I can now squat maybe 70 kilo, and then it starts to hurt. Like a few weeks ago, I was like, okay, I want to squat again. And I started, and I was like, bam, my lower back, it just can't do it. Even if I focus on form, I have lately perfect form. After many years, I got the perfect form. And it was not even about my form, it's just about the bones. It's just about that injury is just so bad that I probably have something bad with my bones. So every time I start to focus, I start to build up, and I try to get that high again. I wanted to be a powerlifter again, but I also want to be as big as possible. And those things are not going together. Because I noticed when I was 70 years old, and I'm now 25, I was way stronger when I was 17 years old. And I kept training this whole time. But I just started to train in a whole different mindset. And those things on TikTok online, you can see people are like, no, this is not true, this is all bullshit. And of course, you can have your own opinion, but most people don't have the experience that I have, and most people don't have all the data that I have. And the data is not like, it's just a number, it's perfect, but it's more like I can really see how I look in the mirror, and I look so much better now. I'm like older, but I'm so much weaker. I'm focusing on form, like fully on form. Like, for example, if you're gonna do an incline press, most people, they're gonna like have their lower back not against the bed. And I always did that, you know, I was just lifting that weight from A to B, but I never got that upper chest. And there was and I felt like I was hitting it, but I could never grow it. And that was because I just was like turning so much like up with my chest that I was actually doing a flat press. So I was actually training my middle chest. And now I'm just actually, since like a few months, I'm trying to have my lower back, so I'm almost gonna go forward, and then I have gonna turn. Of course, you have to turn your scalp, you know. But I keep my back fully against the bed, and I start to like pressure that position, and it's really uncomfortable. It's like, oh, it doesn't really feel good, but it doesn't hurt the shoulders, and I feel like actually I get a pump in the upper chest. And now I do it now for 2 years, I think. I start to focus on actually lifting the weight with like the isolated muscle, not with like my whole body, and just to push that weight, because I can still do that, you know. I think I was trying it for like an experience, and if you really don't believe me, but I'm probably not gonna get a lot of views, but if you really don't believe me, I can even make a video. I can easily do a full stack with the shoulder press machine, and the full stack is pretty heavy, you know, but I'm gonna like put my body in a position that I can pull that weight. But if I'm gonna sit in a way that I actually target and only isolate the shoulder, so actually put your whole back against it, do all those small things, and I'm gonna sit in a proper way to actually hit my shoulder, I noticed that I can maybe lift half of the stack if I do it in perfect form. And now I notice that I'm so much more bigger, so much more conditioned. I see so much more lines, so much more conditioning. Also in my legs, for example, I was always training super heavy, 8 reps, 10 reps, 140 kilos on the back. Now I do squats with sometimes max 60 kilos, and I'm just doing 20 reps. And now I notice that I train way heavier. It's like mentally, it's like draining. I don't have any injuries, and I keep growing constantly. And I'm actually now starting to get satisfied with my body. And it just hurts to see on TikTok that you think that you have to lift heavy all the time, that you have to recover 5 or 6 days. You don't really have to do that, you know. I almost train every day. I just need my deloads. I just need someday, maybe 1 day a week, I just take a day off with difficulty. And sometimes I just go too far and I take like a week off. This week, for example, I got way too far and I got actually really sick. I'm now recovering from that, and I'm now taking 5 days off for the first time ever. And that's because I just dieted way too hot, way too long, and I had to refeed, and my hormones were all crazy bad because I constantly was surviving. My body was like, hey, I need more food, and I got from 100 kg to 77. So now it's like, okay, I have to refeed myself and be a little bit stronger, build some muscle, and then next year I want to compete. But it's just really addictive. It was really addictive to see the condition, and I wanted to keep that condition. And I felt bad if I just put some more weight on, and boom, it's got in a danger zone, you know. I got some therapy, and my therapist was saying like, okay, you have to look out now. You go too far. You look unhealthy now. And it got me to the realization of like, yeah, you're right. I feel like shit. My muscles are going, they literally fade away, and it's just really a bad thing. But now I'm going just everywhere again. What I just want to say with this video is, don't make training too complicated. Don't be too harsh on yourself, you know. Try not to be too lean, try not to be too fat, you know. Just to be in the middle, just be like around 15% body fat. It's just optimal to grow muscle. And maybe if you want to be in shape, you can do that for a short period of time, you know, for the beach. But you don't have to be all the time super lean, because that's also really inefficient. And when your hormones are going to be bad, yeah, it's just going to be a hard place. And sometimes it's just difficult to see it, that you're feeling bad, you know, because you're used to the feeling. And also, just don't make it too complicated. Just go to do the training. Maybe if you have a lot of injuries and you feel like you constantly have the feeling that you have pains and you have to train super hard, maybe just take it a little bit easier. Maybe just going to train a little bit more smarter. How bigger of a stack you're lifting doesn't mean that you have more muscles. I'm the living proof of it, you know. I lift way lighter, way more with like focus on one particular muscle, and I see way more gains. Start like let go of the idea of the big plates, you know. Focus on your muscles and focus on yourself, and stop looking about for validation that people are going to be like, oh, you look cool. I know it's addicting, but it's really unhealthy long term. You're going to have injuries, and before you know, you're going to be 25 like me, and you cannot even squat 70 kilos because you constantly was like pushing yourself to the max. And it's not really necessary for muscle growth. And also, it's a big step to go to the gym now, because there's so much information now online, and it's almost overwhelming, so people stop going to the gym. And when I was younger, it was not that complicated. You just go, push hard, maybe you're gonna do only bicep curls, that's fine, nobody judge you, nobody cares, and go with that mentality. Go there to have some fun, have a good pump, train hard, and don't make it too complicated, because it is not necessary. It is not. If you go out there, you're gonna train hard. The things that is actually important is your sleep, is eating well. But there's another video. It's not really about how many sets you do. It's just about how hard do you train. Are your recovery a little bit? Do you feel like crap? Maybe take another day off. Just be a little bit gentle to yourself. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to say with this video. And let me know in the comments what you think about this. And I see you next time.